Okay, so I talked about part one and part two of the series. If you have not watched that, please definitely do so. Um, now I am going to talk about, um, finish talking about part three of what I've endured and what I went through and all of that. So I was talking about DeAnna Dixon. And I believe she's a pastor now, but she is from Louisiana. And I listened to her, like I said, a lot. But it took me a minute because I take everything to God in prayer now, like more now than ever, okay? Because people are out here and they are preaching the truth and they are living something different. Um, there are people who are speaking half truths. They'll do anything for popular votes. They'll do for anything that goes good. So you have to literally, what it says, test the spirit by the spirit. And like it said in Judges 7:15 and 20, a good fruit is going to give you good things. A bad fruit is going to give you bad things. No matter what it's trying to look like, if it's bad, it's going to eventually show out something bad. You know, and it's going to give you a destruction. If you come out with a bad outcome, you can rest assured for the most part it is not coming from something that is really good, because anything that is good is from God, and God doesn't produce, you know, bad stuff, you know. So yeah. So she had this video. She started talking about, all right, do you want to be a Christian or do you want to be a star? And she talked about how she used to sing and how she had these things come up or whatever. And I had a testimony like that. I used to sing. Actually, my grandmother, well, both of my grandparents on my mother's side were signed to record labels when they were young. My grandmother was signed to VJ. She was with VJ Records, and she sung with the Sounds of Soul. She was the youngest, the last member, United member on the group, and she was the last surviving member of the VJ Records and the Sounds of Soul. So those were the people that, like, before Motown, Motown would get some of those people who were like with Chicago, that lived in that Chicago area, Northwest Indiana area. Actually, before Michael Jackson and the Jackson Five was with Motown Records, they were with VJ Records. So yeah, VJ Records was like the end thing, and that's when you know you were on your way. There were a lot of other, almost all the groups that came out of that Chicagoland area came from VJ Records. So um, and that has always been a definite like thing for me. I can definitely, I won't say that I'm like the best singer. I definitely can hold a note. I definitely can harmonize. That's something that I've been taught at a very young age, and we used to have singing groups and travel. So who I was in a singing group when I was a teenager too. I think my whole life, almost, yeah. So I was getting to get signed on this label, and I remember that Clyde Davis, and Clyde Davis was really big at that time. I mean, like, if anyone knows anything about music, you see this guy, and he's coming to your house to go see you, know that you're getting like, he really likes you, he really likes everything. So, he had this discussion with my grandmother because my grandmother was my guardian. And the first thing my grandmother said, she was like, we serve God. And it was so crazy because I was like, what does that have to do with anything? She was like, we serve God, and that her kids were going to sing for God. Whether it was in church or outside of church, they were going to sing for God. So, needless to say, that opportunity was shut for us. And at that time, I was, in a way, at the time I was like disappointed because a lot of people were like, oh well, he's like a mogul, blah blah this. You guys could be rich, but at the same time, I was kind of happy because I didn't want to leave a lot of people behind. And honestly, I didn't feel like I felt like something like I was going to miss something. It felt odd. The air felt crisp. It felt weird. But anyhow, so she was talking about her issues with you know, with that because she used to sing with Stevie Wonder, all that other stuff, and um, she was talking about those contracts, and I had that issue. So she was talking about, when you are when you are with God, you have to leave some things behind that you would normally, especially when you get deeper in God, you have to leave some things behind which don't look like they are harmful at all. You can't go to the same places that you want to go to. You can't go and just go out of the blue and just go hang out. Why? Because the enemy is vigilant. Like you just can't do those things. And I was having a hard time with that, um, just doing the things because you feel like an outcast. But you have to realize that you have been called, you have been separated and chosen to go through this process. Like you can lose your life for this. And she was talking about that. So, and the point that she made, she started talking about Samson and Delilah, and her topic was, what did I say? It was like, yeah, are you a Christian or do you want to be a star? And it was talking about how Samson was real bold, a courageous guy, and he was devoted to God. He was at birth, God designed him to be that way. And his thing was not, his power was in his hair and in his locks. And God told his parents, like, make sure he doesn't, he keeps his own hair, he's going to lose that power. He was told that was his strength. He kept it a secret, but then he was in love. He was enticed by Delilah. And Delilah, it is a Delilah spirit, like an enticing spirit that goes around, that's been circling around. I mean, Delilah acted like she was his best friend and everything. And she wanted to know more and more about him. She would get so close to him. She was in dire need, and it preyed upon his weakness because he loved women. Being a jock and being a good-looking guy, and the women liking you. He didn't guard himself. He let his guard down through her, and told her his secrets. And it was times like he didn't take caution to what she was doing, because every time she would ask him what was his secret, how was he having his strength, and he would lie to her. He would lie to her, and tell her. People don't talk about how Samson literally lied to her, like 3 times actually, and every time she would go back and try to use this against him. And instead of him telling her, "Oh, you need to go somewhere," he didn't think of it as a threat. He just laughed and kept it close by, kept her close by, to the point where he finally left his guard down, because he was like, well, she's harmless anyway. I can overpower her. And not thinking of the consequences, excuse me, or the detriment that she had on him, that she was like, that she was pestering him, and he let his guard down and was like, told him that it was his locks. And sure enough, after he, let his guard down again and laid in her lap, she takes off his hair, and then he gets publicly humiliated. And not only that, he feels remorseful, because you can tell that he felt so ashamed that he felt that the only way that he can, give God justice is that he kill himself with the people, because he let God down, by giving off his secrets to a betrayer, somebody who was worth less than. She was with the harlots. Delilah was not like a clean woman or anything. She was an enticing little whore bag, and this is what these people are. You have to understand, you can't go in certain places, because there are people who will not only entice you, but entice the people that you are around. So you have to be careful with the circle that you are around. You can't be all friendly with every single person. I had to understand that you can't be, buddy with everyone and playing and all that, because there are enemies that are on your head and that are coming to attack you. So that was what she got, and that is in Judges 16. If you read Judges 16, it talks about Delilah and Samson. Judges, I think like 14, starts talking about Samson and everything from him being in his birth. But the actual part with dealing with Delilah is in Judges 16. So if you have a chance, definitely read that. It made me start reading it and being knowledgeable of it. But she was talking about it. She was like, how many times are you going to let this person come around and go, and you know they're coming to attack you? You don't be a fool, you know. And after that, I was like, because I was about to call, and let me tell you, when the lady who was considered my godmother, when she didn't call back or anything, and I was like, why didn't she do that? I didn't owe her anything. I was going to take her places. Like, my life has been elevating, but I noticed now that every time anything good that was happening, that it didn't have to do with her in it, she was not really happy. When I came back to that shelter and I started talking and telling my testimony and teaching and everything, she did not like that. She did not like that. And matter of fact, she walked out in the middle of my speech and left. Did not stay for my speech. Didn't know I was there, but she literally, yeah. And I was like, what is going on? Maybe she had something to do. But no, she did not. And she did not stay around. It was weird. But I understand now. Like, how many times am I going to let that? I need to close that door. And not only that, I need to close the door from other people because they're leeching on. There are people who really want to attack you. And I never thought that I I was worthy of being that, you know, because you feel so less worthy when you're the invisible person, or people reject you or say you're not good at, and you don't understand how much you internalize that. I didn't even know I internalized. I was just like, whatever, I'm going to do my own thing. But later on in life, I started seeing how it affected me, you know. Even though I overcame things and I conquered things, some things affected me. So I have to deal with those things and be mindful of those, because if I don't deal with them, guess what? The enemy's cap is going to deal with them. There are people that can see clear through your star, and they can see what your weaknesses are. And if you don't deal with them and try to work through them, they're coming after you. They're going to use that to come after you. People know that you are empath or you have empathy, and they want to use that against you. So you have to guard your senses, guard yourself, be prepared for those things. Um, yeah, yeah. Don't tell everybody your whole moves or anything like that. So I had to make this video because it it gave me so much confirmation. And I, like I said, I know there's a lot of people that are going through this, because you have people who, like I said, they look like they wanted to help you, and then all of a sudden when you started doing better, and especially if you're doing better than they expected, they start turning on you. You know, this is what happened to me, not only with her, but other people. You know, some people wanted you to do better. They didn't want you to be poor and broke, but they wanted you to have a normal life. Just normal meaning to do what they thought was pleasing to them, and nothing else better and nothing else more. So when you do more, there are people like, well, how can she do this and I was doing this and I'm so better, instead of saying, well, thank God for having her to go through this and she's going on her way. God, I ask that you help me to get on my way and be comfortable with my way, because everybody has a different star and a different thing to do. So, yeah, yeah. And her thing was, stop dealing with Delilah. She kept saying, stop dealing with Delilah. And yeah, it, like I said, it made a lot of sense. Like, stop dealing with these people. I had people, even this last Christmas, I'm going to tell you about this because this was another thing. This last Christmas, I had this one particular individuals. Um, they wanted me to give these Christmas gifts. Now, I have not been celebrating Christmas in the last 4 years. Like, giving gifts, even before that, you know, I was giving gifts, but not like I would tell people I really don't celebrate it. I don't know why I didn't, but I don't know, it just didn't feel like I needed to. Um, so I did not. But this last year, there were two individuals that wanted me to do it. Oh yeah, blah blah blah, woo woo woo, this and that, and um, I was like, okay, we can exchange gifts, but I would not deal with the Christmas thing or anything like that. Um, and they were like, oh, I already got your gifts. One, I didn't